Villans. Aston Villa's nightmare start just got even darker. After another frustrating result at Sunderland, questions are being asked, not just about the players, but about Unai Emery himself. From missed chances to walking down the tunnel before the final whistle, the pressure is building like we haven't seen in years. Welcome back to Let's Talk About Aston Villa. I'm Nick, and today we're diving into the fallout from that Sunderland draw, Emery's strange behavior on the touchline, and whether the boss has the answers to steady this sinking ship. So, is Emery losing his composure, or is this just a bump in the road on Villa's long-term project? Let's get into it.
But before we begin, be sure to click like, subscribe, and help us reach more and more Aston Villa fans.
If the message from Aston Villa right now is not one of panic, it is at least one that demands clear communication and decisive action from the very top down. Villa find themselves in the midst of one of the most difficult starts in their recent history. With only 3 points collected from a possible 15, no victories to speak of in the Premier League, and a Carabao Cup campaign that ended before it ever really began, it is impossible to ignore the seriousness of the situation. Optimism over the summer has quickly given way to anxiety, and it is becoming painfully clear that Unai Emery and his squad must confront reality head-on. Sunday's draw with newly promoted Sunderland was the latest chapter in what has become a concerning pattern. Once again, Villa failed to see out a match in which they held the advantage, even against the side reduced to 10 men for most of the afternoon. For a club with Champions League ambitions, that is simply not good enough. Villa need their manager to provide answers. They need him to make difficult calls, protect certain players from further scrutiny, and place his trust in others who might inject energy and unpredictability into a side looking short of ideas. Most of all, he must accept that his current approach is not working. Without key adjustments, the project that looked so promising last season risks collapsing under its own weight. At this early stage of the campaign, Villa should not be in crisis mode. But 5 games in, the warning signs are too loud to ignore. Emery must now call upon his players to display more character, more bravery, and the professionalism required to reverse this slump. They, in turn, need him to steady the ship. One of his central responsibilities is to shield his squad from the growing negativity surrounding the club, ensuring that the mood in the dressing room remains focused and resilient. Nobody is immune to pressure, but a manager's ability to deflect it away from his team is often what separates leaders from followers. And yet, Emery's actions in Sunderland suggested the opposite. With only seconds left of normal time, he shook hands with opposing coach Regis Lebriz and disappeared down the tunnel, long before the final whistle had sounded. On the surface, it may seem a minor detail, but the symbolism is powerful. For many, it felt like an admission of defeat, a visible crack in the composure of a manager renowned for his focus and intensity. By leaving his players to face the whistle without him, Emery risked creating an unnecessary divide, intentional or not, between himself and the team. The image of a manager walking away before the contest had truly ended was jarring, and for supporters, it raised questions about whether the Spaniard feels as lost as his squad looks on the pitch. There are also those who viewed the gesture as a slight towards Sunderland and their manager, however unintentional it might have been. Whatever the interpretation, it was not the picture Villa fans wanted to see. What the Claret and Blue faithful crave is reassurance, the sense that despite the dreadful form, the situation remains under control. Instead, Emery's departure down the tunnel convinced many that even he is struggling to keep belief alive. This is not to say that the season is beyond saving. There is still quality in the squad, and injuries have played their part in unraveling the early weeks. But excuses cannot replace results. The longer Villa go without finding a way to win, the louder the discontent will grow, and the more fragile the relationship between manager, players, and supporters becomes. In short, Aston Villa needs leadership, on and off the pitch. Emery must rediscover the authority and composure that turned Villa into one of the most impressive sides only months ago. The players must respond with performances that show fight and determination, And the club as a whole must stop the rot before a difficult start spirals into a full-blown crisis.
And that wraps up today's Aston Villa news. What do you reckon, Villans? Drop your thoughts down below. I always love hearing your takes. If you enjoyed this update, don't forget to smash that like button. And if you're new around here, hit subscribe and join the family. We're on the road to the next big milestone together. Thanks for watching. Let's talk about Aston Villa. And as always, up the Villa.